The GPS died somewhere around mile marker 47. Lauren stared at her phone screen, watching the blue dot spin uselessly in the middle of what the map insisted was empty space. No roads, no landmarks. Just a blank expanse that didn't match the very real highway she'd been driving on. Perfect, she muttered, pulling onto the shoulder. Just perfect. The conference in Albany had run late. She'd left at 9 p.m., figuring she'd be home by midnight. Easy drive, familiar route. Except somewhere in the darkness she'd taken a wrong turn. And then another. And now she was on a country road with no cell service and a gas tank reading dangerously close to empty. Lauren got out and looked around. Trees on both sides, stars overhead, silence so complete it felt oppressive. No headlights in either direction. No houses with welcoming lights. Just darkness and the sound of her own breathing. She walked a few steps down the road, holding her phone up, hoping for even one bar of service. Nothing. Okay, she said to herself, voice too loud in the quiet. Don't panic. Someone will drive by eventually. Except it had been 20 minutes, and not a single car had passed. Lauren was debating her options when headlights appeared in her rearview mirror. A car approaching from behind, moving at steady speed. Relief and fear hit simultaneously. The car, expensive, dark, the kind that whispered serious money, pulled up behind her and stopped. Lauren watched in her mirror as the driver's door opened and a man stepped out. Tall. That was her first impression. Tall, well-dressed even in the dim light. Moving with the kind of confidence that suggested he was completely comfortable in the dark. He approached her window but stopped a respectful distance away. Lauren cracked her window an inch. Car trouble? GPS trouble, Lauren said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. I'm a bit lost. Where are you trying to go? New York City? The man's eyebrow raised slightly. You're about 70 miles off course. I know. Wrong turn became several wrong turns. He glanced at her dashboard. She'd left the car running, so the gas gauge was visible. And you're almost out of fuel. Also aware of that, yes. There's a gas station about 15 miles from here. Small place, closes at midnight. If you hurry, you might make it. Lauren checked her clock. 11:45. 15 miles on fumes. Not good odds. I don't think I'll make it, she admitted. The man considered this. I can drive you there. You can get a gas can, and I'll bring you back to your car. Every safety instinct Lauren had screamed at her not to accept. Don't get in a car with a stranger. Especially not on a dark road in the middle of nowhere. But the alternative was sitting here hoping someone else came along. Or running out of gas trying to reach that station. Or attempting to walk 15 miles in the dark. That's very kind, Lauren said carefully. But I don't know you. No, you don't. But I'll leave my car here as collateral. Keys in the ignition. If I don't bring you back safely, you'll have a very expensive vehicle to compensate. It was the strangest offer Lauren had ever received. Who left their car clearly worth more than her annual salary as collateral for a stranger? Why would you do that? She asked. The man smiled slightly. Because you're stranded and I can help. And because I understand that accepting help from strangers is difficult for women traveling alone. I'm trying to make it less frightening. There was something in his tone. Not threatening, not manipulative, just honest. Like he genuinely understood her fear and was trying to mitigate it. What's your name? Lauren asked. Sebastian. I'm Lauren. Nice to meet you, Lauren. Though I wish it were under better circumstances. Lauren studied Sebastian's face through the small window opening. He had sharp features, dark eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and the kind of composure that suggested nothing ever rattled him. Against every logical voice in her head, she found herself unlocking her door. You're sure about this? Sebastian asked. No, but I'm out of good options. Fair enough. Let me get my car situated. He walked back to his vehicle, and Lauren noticed another car parked further back on the road, dark, waiting. As Sebastian's brake lights illuminated the scene, that car's lights flicked on briefly. A signal. Is that another car back there? Lauren called out. Sebastian glanced back. Yes. Security. I don't travel alone in isolated areas. Security? For what? Occupational hazard. Nothing that concerns you. He returned and gestured to his car. Shall we? Lauren grabbed her purse, locked her car, and approached his vehicle. Up close it was even more impressive sleek black exterior. Windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside until the door opened. The interior was immaculate. Leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent, subtle ambient lighting, technology she couldn't begin to understand. Seatbelt, please, Sebastian said as he got in. Safety first. They pulled onto the road, and Lauren noticed the security car maintaining its distance behind them. Not close but present, watching. So, Lauren said, trying to calm her nerves with conversation, what kind of business requires security on country roads at midnight? Sebastian glanced at her, and something flickered in his expression. The kind that's easier conducted away from cities? That sounds ominous. Does it? I suppose it does. He kept his eyes on the road. But I promise, my business doesn't involve harming stranded motorists. You're perfectly safe. What does your business involve? He was quiet for a moment, like he was deciding how much to tell her. I manage operations. Import, export, logistics. Mostly paperwork and negotiations, but occasionally requires travel to inconvenient locations. It sounded legitimate enough. But something in the way he said it felt rehearsed. Like an answer he'd given many times before to questions he didn't really want to answer. They drove past a turnoff, and the security car followed smoothly, professionally. These weren't amateurs. You said occupational hazard, Lauren pressed. What kind of occupation requires armed security in rural areas? Armed? Sebastian smiled slightly. What makes you think they're armed? The way they move. The positioning. I watch a lot of crime shows. Observant. He seemed amused rather than concerned. To answer your question, the kind of occupation that involves valuable cargo and competitors who might want access to that cargo. Like what? Art, jewelry, among other things. Ideal in acquisitions that require discretion. The word choice was interesting. Acquisitions. Discretion. Not purchases or products. The language of someone who operated in gray areas. The gas station appeared ahead, old, fluorescent lights flickering. The kind of place that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. Sebastian pulled in and parked near the entrance. Stay in the car for a moment. Let me make sure everything's appropriate. Appropriate for what? For bringing a civilian to an establishment that typically serves a different clientele. He got out and walked to the entrance with that same controlled confidence. Through the window, Lauren saw him speak to someone inside. A brief conversation, a nod, and then Sebastian gestured for her to join him. Inside, the gas station was surprisingly clean despite its dated exterior. An older man stood behind the counter, and his eyes widened when he saw Sebastian. Mr. Volkov, the man said quickly, his voice carrying a mixture of respect and something that looked uncomfortably like fear. Good evening, sir. Evening, Marcus. My friend here needs a gas can about 5 gallons. Can you help us? Of course. Right away. Marcus practically ran to the back storage area. Lauren looked at Sebastian. He's afraid of you. He respects me. There's a difference. That looked like fear. Sebastian turned to face her fully, and something in his expression shifted. Lauren, I think we should have an honest conversation before we go back to your car. About what? About who I am. Because you're going to hear my name and make assumptions, and I'd rather address those assumptions directly. Lauren felt her stomach tighten. Okay, who are you? Sebastian's dark eyes held her steadily. My full name is Sebastian Volkov. I run an organization that operates throughout this region. Officially, I manage various import-export businesses. Unofficially, double quotes, he paused, choosing his words carefully. I'm what people in law enforcement would call a crime boss. What the media would call a mafia boss. What I prefer to call an organizational manager who operates in spaces where traditional business structures don't reach. The world seemed to tilt slightly. Lauren gripped the edge of the counter. You're joking. I'm not. You're telling me you're a criminal? And you're just admitting it? I'm telling you because I don't want you to get back in my car without knowing exactly who I am. You deserve that choice, Lauren. You deserve to know the truth. Why? Why tell me this? You could have just helped me and I'd never have known. Because that would be dishonest. You're vulnerable right now. Stranded, accepting help from a stranger. The least I can do is let you know exactly what kind of stranger I am. Marcus returned with a filled gas can, setting it down carefully and backing away, still not quite meeting Sebastian's eyes. He was definitely afraid, despite Sebastian's insistence on calling it respect. Sebastian pulled out his wallet and left several bills on the counter, far more than the gas cost. That's too much, Mr. Volkov, Marcus protested weakly. For your trouble. And for your discretion. Marcus nodded quickly and pocketed the money without further argument. Sebastian picked up the gas can and looked at Lauren. You have a choice now. I can give you this gas can, point you toward the interstate, and we never see each other again. Or I can drive you back to your car, help you fill your tank, and ensure you get on your way safely. But you need to make that choice knowing who I am. Lauren's mind raced. Every logical voice screamed at her to take the gas can and get as far away from this man as possible. He just admitted to being a criminal, a crime boss. The kind of person she should be running from, not accepting help from. But he'd also been nothing but respectful. He'd left his car as collateral. He'd given her choice after choice. He was being more honest than most legitimate business people ever were. If I get in your car again, Lauren said slowly, am I in danger? No, you're not part of my world. You haven't done anything to threaten my interests. And you're not someone I have any reason to harm. You're safe with me, Lauren. I promise you that. Why should I believe a criminal's promise? Sebastian's smile genuinely smiled, and it transformed his face from severe to almost warm. Because criminals keep our promises more reliably than politicians keep theirs. My reputation is built on my word. If I promise you're safe, you're safe. That's a very self-serving argument. But is it wrong? Lauren thought about it. About the careful way he'd approached her car. The collateral he'd offered. The honesty he was showing now when he could have just stayed silent. No, she admitted. It's not wrong. So, what's your choice? Gas can and directions, or a ride back to your car? Lauren looked at the gas can, then at Sebastian, then back at the can. If I take the ride, will you answer my questions honestly? As honestly as I can without putting either of us in legal jeopardy, yes. That's a lawyerly answer. I have good lawyers. They've taught me well. Despite everything, despite the fear, the shock, the absolute insanity of the situation, Lauren found herself almost smiling. Okay, I'll take the ride. But you're going to explain how someone becomes a crime boss. That's a long story. We have 15 miles. Sebastian picked up the gas can. Then let's not waste time. As they drove back toward Lauren's car, the security vehicle maintaining its professional distance, Sebastian began to talk. I was born into this life, he said, eyes on the dark road. My father ran the organization before me. From the time I was old enough to understand, I was being groomed to take over. Business education in Europe, language training, cultural refinement. All designed to create someone who could move seamlessly between legitimate and illegitimate worlds. That sounds like a prison. I didn't choose this path, it was chosen for me before I was born. By the time I was old enough to question whether I wanted it, I was already too deep to escape. Lauren watched his profile as he spoke. There was something almost vulnerable in his voice, like he was admitting something he rarely acknowledged even to himself. Why can't you leave? Because there's no exit strategy from what I do. You don't retire from being a crime boss. You either die, get arrested, or get overthrown. Those are the only ways out. That's bleak. It's realistic. He glanced at her. I'm not telling you this to gain sympathy. I made choices, or rather, I continued making the choices that were laid out for me. I'm complicit in my own situation. But I want you to understand that the world I operate in isn't like normal business. The rules are different. The stakes are higher. Have you ever killed anyone? The question came out before Lauren could stop it. She immediately regretted asking. Some things were better left unknown. But Sebastian answered anyway. Not personally. But I've given orders that led to deaths. I've made decisions that put people in danger. I've sanctioned actions that resulted in violence. So while I've never pulled a trigger myself, I carry the weight of those deaths. Does that answer your question? It was the most honest thing Lauren had ever heard from anyone. No evasion, no justification, just brutal truth. Yes, she said quietly. It does. And does it change whether you feel safe with me right now? Lauren thought about that. Should it? Should knowing that this calm, articulate man was responsible for deaths make her afraid? No, she said, surprising herself. Because you've been honest. You could have lied. Could have made yourself sound better. But you didn't. That honesty means something. Most people would say it means I'm dangerous. You are dangerous. But not to me, right? Right? Not to you. Sebastian confirmed. You're completely safe with me, Lauren. I have no reason to harm you and significant reasons not to. Hurting random civilians is bad for business and against my personal code. You have a code? Everyone has a code. Mine just operates outside legal frameworks. He slowed as they approached her car, still sitting on the shoulder right where she'd left it. Here we are. Let me fill your tank. He got out and efficiently poured the gas into her car. Lauren watched through her window. This strange man who'd admitted to being a criminal while being more helpful and honest than most people she knew. When he finished, Sebastian knocked on her window. Lauren got out. That should get you to the next major town, he said. From there, follow this road about 30 miles and take the exit toward Interstate 87. It's clearly marked. That'll take you straight into the city. Thank you. For everything. You're welcome. Drive safely, Lauren. He started to walk back to his car, but she called out, Sebastian. He turned. Why did you help me? Really? He considered the question seriously. Because you needed help, and I was in a position to provide it. And because double quotes he paused, because kindness is rare in my world. Sometimes I like to remember I'm capable of it. That's the saddest reason I've ever heard. Perhaps. But it's honest. Lauren nodded. One more question. Yes? Will I ever see you again? Something flickered in Sebastian's expression, surprise, maybe, or interest. Do you want to? I don't know, maybe. You're the most interesting person I've met in years. Interesting is a generous word for dangerous. Maybe I find danger interesting. Sebastian smiled. Then perhaps we will see each other again. The world is smaller than people think. He got in his car and drove away, the security vehicle following. Within moments, both sets of taillights had disappeared into the night. Lauren sat in her car for a long moment, trying to process what had just happened. She'd been rescued by a crime boss, who'd been nothing but respectful and honest, who'd given her every opportunity to refuse his help. Finally, she started her engine and began driving, following Sebastian's directions. They were perfect 30 miles later. She found the interstate exit exactly where he'd said it would be. As she merged onto the highway, heading home, Lauren couldn't stop thinking about dark eyes and brutal honesty in the way Sebastian had treated her fear as legitimate rather than dismissible. She should report this to someone. Should tell police she'd encountered a self-identified crime boss. But something stopped her. Maybe gratitude. Maybe curiosity. Maybe recognition that Sebastian had been more honest in 30 minutes than most people managed in years. Her phone finally caught signal as she neared the city. Notifications flooded in, missed calls, texts, voicemails. Her mother, worried about the late drive. Emma, checking if she'd made it home. Lauren called her mother first. Hi, Mom. Yes, I'm fine. Just got lost. I'll be home soon. She didn't mention Sebastian. Didn't mention crime bosses or gas cans or security vehicles. Some things were too complicated to explain. As she drove through the city streets toward her apartment, Lauren found herself wondering if she'd ever see Sebastian Volkov again. And realizing she hoped the answer was yes. 3 days later, Lauren was trying to convince herself the whole encounter had been some kind of fever dream when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Lauren? It's Sebastian Volkov. Her heart jumped. How did you get my number? I'm resourceful. And before you ask, yes, I used methods that would concern you if you knew the details. But I wanted to make sure you made it home safely. That's thoughtful and concerning. You tracked me down? I paid attention when you showed me your phone screen at the gas station. Your emergency contact was visible. It's not difficult to find someone when you have a starting point and resources. Lauren should have been angry, should have felt violated. But instead, she felt oddly flattered that he'd gone through the trouble. I made it home fine. Your directions were perfect. Good, I'm glad. He paused. I also wanted to apologize. For what? For telling you who I am. I put you in an uncomfortable position, gave you information you probably didn't want and definitely can't forget. Why did you tell me? Because honesty seemed important. You were vulnerable, accepting help from a stranger. The least I could do was let you know exactly who that stranger was. Lauren sat down on her couch. Most people would have just lied. I'm not most people. No, she agreed. You're really not. They fell into silence. Lauren knew she should hang up, should end this connection with a dangerous man. But curiosity won. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you regret it? The life you have? Sebastian was quiet for a long moment. Every day. But regret doesn't change reality. I'm too deep in this world to ever truly leave it. The best I can hope for is to minimize harm and operate with some kind of ethical framework. That sounds exhausting. It is. Being what I am, making the choices I make, carrying that weight, it's the most exhausting thing I've ever done. He paused. But someone has to do it. Better it's someone who tries to limit collateral damage. That's a very utilitarian view of crime. Perhaps. But I'd argue that most crime exists because legitimate systems fail to meet people's needs. I fill gaps that society creates. That doesn't make me good. But it doesn't make me purely evil either. Lauren found herself fascinated despite her better judgment. You've thought about this a lot. When you do what I do, you think about justifications constantly. Otherwise, the weight becomes unbearable. They talked for an hour. About philosophy, about morality, about the spaces between legal and illegal where Sebastian operated. He was intelligent, articulate, surprisingly open about the contradictions in his life. When they finally said goodbye, Lauren sat in her apartment wondering what she'd just done. She'd spent an hour on the phone with a crime boss, and she'd enjoyed it. This was definitely not a good idea. Sebastian called again 3 days later. And then a week after that. Always from different numbers, always at unexpected times. Sometimes they talked for 5 minutes, sometimes for hours. Lauren learned that Sebastian spoke 4 languages, had studied economics at a university in Switzerland, and collected first edition books. He learned that she loved old noir films, made terrible coffee, and had a habit of talking to herself when solving complex problems. This is insane, her friend Emma said when Lauren finally admitted she'd been talking to someone she'd met on that dark road. You're having regular conversations with a stranger? He's not really a stranger anymore. That's worse. Lauren, you don't know this man. I know more about him than I know about half the people I work with. Emma shook her head. What if he's dangerous? He is dangerous. But not to me. How can you possibly know that? Because he's been nothing but honest. And honestly, that's worth more than I thought. Emma remained skeptical, but Lauren couldn't explain the appeal. Sebastian was different from anyone she'd ever known. He was honest about being dishonest, open about being closed off, vulnerable about being dangerous. And he talked to her like she mattered. Not because of what she could do for him or how she fit into his world. Just because she was interesting and he enjoyed their conversations. If you're listening to this story, the narration seems to whisper through Lauren's growing connection. And you want to know what happens when curiosity becomes something more. When phone calls with a dangerous man start feeling safer than relationships with safe ones. When the line between fear and fascination blurs completely, subscribe to the channel. Because Lauren is about to discover that Mafia boss Sebastian isn't just a voice on the phone. And sometimes the most dangerous step is from conversation to commitment. 1 month after their first meeting, Sebastian called with an unusual request. I'm attending a charity gala tomorrow night. My usual companion had to cancel, and I need someone to attend with me. Would you be interested? Lauren's heart raced. You're asking me on a date. I'm asking you to help me avoid several board members' wives who keep trying to set me up with their daughters. Completely selfish reasons, I assure you. That's the most honest invitation I've ever received. Will you come? I promise completely public venue, plenty of witnesses, nothing dangerous. Just boring small talk and mediocre catering. Lauren knew she should say no. Should maintain the boundary between telephone conversations and actual physical meetings. What time? She heard herself say. 7. I'll send a car. I can drive. Lauren, I live 2 hours from you. I'm sending a car. It's already decided. The next evening, a sleek sedan arrived at her building at exactly 6. The driver was professional, courteous, and absolutely refused to engage in conversation beyond necessary pleasantries. Lauren spent the drive wondering what she'd gotten herself into. The gala was at a museum in Westchester, one of those events where tickets cost more than her monthly rent. Lauren felt underdressed despite wearing her best dress. Sebastian met her at the entrance. He was in a tuxedo that probably cost more than her car, looking like he'd stepped out of an editorial spread. When he saw her, something warm flickered in his expression. "You came," he said. "You doubted I would?" "I gave you 2 hours to reconsider during the drive." Most people would have used that time wisely and stayed home. I'm not most people. No, Sebastian agreed, offering his arm. You're really not. Inside, the gala was exactly as promised, elegant, boring, full of wealthy people making small talk. Lauren watched Sebastian navigate the social waters with practiced ease. He introduced her as my friend Lauren, never specifying how they knew each other. People treated him with careful respect. Not obvious fear exactly, but cautious attention. Like they all knew Sebastian Volkov was someone you didn't cross. You're different here, Lauren observed when they had a quiet moment. More guarded. This is my public persona. Charming, approachable, utterly forgettable. People need to think they understand me while actually knowing nothing real. Do I know the real you? Sebastian looked at her seriously. You know more of the real me than anyone in this room does. Whether that's the complete truth or just another layer, I honestly don't know anymore. They danced. Sebastian led with practiced grace, maintaining respectful distance. Where did you learn to dance? Lauren asked. Private tutors. My father insisted I learn everything necessary to move in high society. Dancing, proper etiquette, which fork to use at formal dinners. He wanted me capable of fitting in anywhere. Did it work? Too well. I can convince people I belong anywhere. The problem is, I don't actually belong anywhere. As they danced, Lauren noticed something. Other couples gave them space. Not obviously, but consistently. Like there was an invisible bubble around Sebastian that people instinctively respected. They're afraid of you, she whispered. They're cautious. There's a difference. Fear makes people stupid. Caution makes them careful. I prefer careful. After the dance, Senator Morrison approached older, distinguished, with calculating eyes that assessed Lauren immediately. Sebastian, good to see you. Senator, enjoying the evening? Quite. And who is your lovely companion? This is Lauren. Lauren, Senator Morrison sits on several committees that affect business regulations. The senator's handshake was firm, his eyes sharp. Pleasure. Sebastian, we should talk sometime about that development project in Red Hook. Call my office next week. After Morrison left, Lauren stared. A senator? Several senators, actually. Politicians need money. I occasionally have money to contribute. It's mutually beneficial. You're bribing senators? I'm making campaign contributions within legal limits. If those contributions come with implicit expectations, well, that's just how politics works. Lauren shouldn't be charmed by this casual admission of corruption. But somehow she was. When they finally left, walking to Sebastian's car, Lauren felt exhausted but exhilarated. Thank you, Sebastian said. You saved me from a very tedious evening of matchmaking attempts. Was that the only reason you invited me? He stopped walking and looked at her directly. No, I invited you because I wanted to see you in person. Wanted to see if the woman I've been talking to matched the woman I met on that dark road. And she does. Is that good or bad? Honestly, I don't know. Because now I know you're real. And that makes everything more complicated. Complicated how? Complicated because I'm starting to care about you. And people I care about become targets. They stood in the museum parking lot, both aware they were crossing another line. Can I see you again? Sebastian asked quietly. You call me almost every day. I mean in person, not at some boring gala. Just us. Real conversation, real time together. Lauren knew she should refuse. Should end this before it became something neither of them could walk away from. Yes, she said instead. Dinner became regular. Once a week at first, then twice, then every few days. Always at public places, always respectful, always normal. Except nothing about their situation was normal. Lauren learned more about Sebastian's world, not the violent parts, which he carefully avoided, but the structure. How he managed people, negotiated conflicts, maintained control through strategy rather than force. I'm essentially a CEO, he explained over Italian food one evening. Just for an organization that operates outside legal boundaries. Same skills: personnel management, strategic planning, conflict resolution. Different context. That's a very sanitized version. Because the unsanitized version involves details you don't need. I'm trying to keep you separate from the worst parts, Lauren. Maybe I don't want to be separate. Sebastian set down his fork. You should. Trust me on this. Why? Because it's dangerous? I already know that. Because once you're really in my world, you can't get out. Information becomes complicity. Association becomes connection. I don't want that for you. What if I want it for myself? Then you're braver or more foolish than I thought. Possibly both. Despite his warnings, Sebastian kept seeing her. Kept calling. Kept creating space in his dangerous life for this growing thing between them. Emma remained deeply skeptical. He's grooming you or something. This is how manipulation works. They're charming until you're trapped. Sebastian isn't trapping me. He keeps giving me opportunities to walk away. And you keep not walking away. That's the trap, Lauren. You're choosing your own prison. But it didn't feel like a prison. It felt like freedom, the freedom to be honest, to ask questions, to exist without pretense or performance. 2 months into their relationship, Lauren still wasn't sure what to call it. Sebastian called with unusual urgency. Where are you right now? Home? Why? What's wrong? Stay there. Lock your doors. Don't answer for anyone except me. Lauren felt ice in her stomach. Sebastian, what's happening? Situation with a competitor. Probably nothing, but I'm being cautious. Someone might try to use you to get to me. Use me how? Better not to speculate. Just stay inside. I'm sending someone to watch your building. You're sending a bodyguard? Yes. His name is Marcus. He'll be in a black SUV outside your building. If anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call me immediately. Sebastian, you're scaring me. Good. Fear keeps you safe. I'll explain everything when this is resolved. He hung up, leaving Lauren staring at her phone in shock. 10 minutes later, she looked out her window and saw a black SUV park across the street. A man got out, large, professional, scanning the area with practiced thoroughness before settling in to watch. Marcus, presumably. Lauren sat in her apartment, door locked, trying to work but unable to focus. This was real. The danger Sebastian had warned about was actually real. Hours passed. Lauren tried to distract herself with TV, with work, with anything. But she kept glancing at her phone, waiting. At midnight, Sebastian finally called. It's handled, he said, sounding exhausted. You're safe. The threat has been neutralized. What happened? A competitor thought he could gain leverage by threatening people important to me. He was incorrect in his assessment of how that would end. Sebastian, did you? No violence. Just very clear communication about consequences. He's backing off. How clear? Clear enough that he won't make that mistake again. He paused. I'm sorry, Lauren. I tried to keep you separate from this part of my life, but some things can't be controlled. I'm okay. Marcus was very professional. Never approached, just stayed visible. Good, he knows his job. Another pause. This is why I warned you. Why I keep saying this is dangerous. Because it is. My enemies will use anything and anyone to hurt me. But I'm safe now. You're safe now, but Lauren. You need to understand that this could happen again. Probably will happen again. As long as you're connected to me, you're a potential target. Lauren should have been horrified. Should have ended things right there. When can I see you? She asked instead. What? When can I see you? You just spent however many hours dealing with a threat that involved me. I want to see you. Make sure you're okay. Sebastian was quiet for so long she thought he'd hung up. Then, tomorrow. My apartment. I'll send the address. I'll be there. The next evening, Lauren arrived at Sebastian's building upscale. Exclusive, with security that scrutinized her carefully before allowing entry. His apartment was on the top floor, and when he opened the door, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes. Hi, she said. Hi. They stood in the doorway, both aware they were crossing yet another threshold. Phone calls and public dinners were one thing. Being alone in his private space was different. Come in, Sebastian said finally. The apartment was exactly what she expected, luxurious but somehow impersonal. Like someone had hired a decorator but never actually lived there. Are you okay? Lauren asked. Tired, but okay. You? Still processing. I've never needed a bodyguard before. I'm sorry you needed one. Lauren walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Tell me the truth. How dangerous is it, being involved with you? Sebastian came to stand beside her. Dangerous. Not constantly, not every moment. But periodically, yes, people will try to use you to hurt me. And I'll spend every moment trying to prevent that. Why? What? Why protect me? Why go through the trouble? You could just let me be separate from your world. Because I care about you, Lauren. More than I should. More than is wise. But I can't seem to stop. Lauren turned to face him. I care about you too. Even knowing what you are. Even knowing the danger. Sebastian cupped her face gently. That's the most dangerous admission either of us could make. I know. We should stop this. End it before someone gets hurt. We should. But we won't, will we? No. He kissed her then, careful, questioning, like he was giving her one more chance to change her mind. Lauren kissed him back, making her choice absolutely clear. They were in this together now. Dangerous, complicated, impossible. But together. Over the next weeks, Lauren learned to navigate Sebastian's world. She met Marcus properly, the bodyguard who'd watched her building. He was professional, ex-military, capable of extreme violence, but also surprisingly thoughtful. Your job is to keep her safe, Sebastian told him during a meeting. She doesn't go anywhere without protection until I'm certain the threat is completely neutralized. Understood, boss. To Lauren. I'll try to be invisible. You won't even know I'm there. That's somehow more unnerving than knowing. Marcus smiled slightly. That's the point, ma'am. True to his word, Marcus became a shadow. Lauren would leave work and notice him in a car across the street. Would go grocery shopping and see him a few aisles away. Never intrusive, never close, just there. Is this permanent? Lauren asked Sebastian one evening. Until I'm certain you're not a target. Could be weeks, could be months. That's expensive. Your safety is worth any cost. The FBI approached Lauren 2 weeks later. Outside her office building, 2 agents with badges and questions. Lauren Harris? We need to ask you some questions about Sebastian Volkov. They questioned her for 30 minutes. About how they met, about their relationship, about anything she might know about his business activities. Lauren stuck to the truth. They'd met when her car broke down. They were friends. She'd never witnessed any illegal activity. If you want protection from him, one agent offered, we can help. I don't need protection from Sebastian. Are you sure? Because people connected to him tend to experience difficulties. I'm fine. Thank you. She called Sebastian immediately after they left. The FBI just questioned me. What did you tell them? The truth. That we're friends. That I've never seen illegal activity. You could have cooperated. Made a deal to distance yourself. Why would I do that? Because it's the smart thing. The safe thing. Or maybe the smart thing is staying loyal to someone who's been honest with me. Sebastian was quiet. The FBI will pressure you. They'll make offers, make threats. I can handle it. Lauren, they can make your life very difficult. Let them try. I'm not giving them anything about you. Why are you doing this? Because loyalty matters. Because I'm not betraying someone who's never betrayed me. Sebastian's voice was rough. I don't deserve your loyalty. Stop saying that. You've been honest with me from the start. That deserves loyalty. The FBI contact became regular. They'd approach Lauren at random times, always with the same questions, same offers of immunity and protection. Lauren's employer got nervous. Called her in for uncomfortable conversations about associations and perception. Finally, they put her on indefinite leave. Not quite firing her, but close. They're going after my job now, Lauren told Sebastian. I could end our relationship publicly. They'd back off eventually. Absolutely not, Lauren. No, I'm not ending this because they're being aggressive. Sebastian pulled her close. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Good. Easy would be boring. Despite the pressure, despite the job situation, despite everything, Lauren stayed. Because Sebastian was worth the complications. Because honesty was worth more than safety. Because she'd made her choice and she was committed to it. The situation escalated when the congressional hearings were announced. Sebastian's name was at the center of an investigation into organized crime on the Eastern Seaboard. They'll subpoena you, Sebastian told Lauren. Make you testify under oath. What do I tell them? The truth. You don't know anything about illegal activities. We have a personal relationship, not a business one. Will that protect you? It'll protect you. Which is what matters. Sebastian's lawyers prepared Lauren extensively. Mock hearings, practice questions, coaching on how to answer without revealing anything prosecutable. Short answers. Never elaborate. If you don't know, say you don't know. If you don't remember, say that. Never speculate, the lead attorney instructed. The media discovered Lauren's existence before the hearings. Mystery woman connected to alleged crime boss. Read the headlines. Reporters showed up at her apartment, at the grocery store, everywhere. Her boss called. This has become untenable. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. Lauren lost her job because of her association with Sebastian. Emma told her she was crazy. Her mother stopped calling. Her father sent disappointed emails. But Sebastian was there, providing lawyers, ensuring her safety, helping her navigate the nightmare her life had become. You could walk away, he kept saying. None of this is worth what you're going through. Yes, it is. You're worth it. The hearing day arrived. Lauren sat at a table facing a panel of senators. Cameras everywhere. Knowing everything she said would be public record. Ms. Harris, how did you meet Sebastian Volkov? He helped me when my car broke down on a rural road. We stayed in touch afterward. Are you aware of his alleged criminal activities? I'm aware of allegations. I've never witnessed any illegal activities personally. You've been to his residence? Yes, and you've never seen anything suspicious? I've seen normal life. Dinner, conversation, reading. Nothing illegal. They questioned her for 3 hours. Every angle, every detail, trying to find something incriminating. Lauren stuck to the truth, kept her answers short, didn't let the pressure break her. Finally, Ms. Harris, are you being coerced? Do you feel safe with Mr. Volkov? I've never felt safer with anyone, even knowing his reputation. Especially knowing it, because he's been honest about who he is. That honesty is worth more than any reputation. The hearing room murmured, some with approval, some with skepticism. Thank you, Ms. Harris. You're excused. Outside, Sebastian waited. When he saw her, he pulled her into his arms, not caring about the cameras. You were incredible, he said. I was terrified, but you did it. That's what courage is. They faced the media together. Sebastian made a public statement defending Lauren's integrity, claiming her, making absolutely clear she mattered to him. In the car afterward, Lauren was shaking. What happens now? She asked. Now we wait for them to call me. And then we see what they decide. And us? Us is whatever you want it to be. Lauren took his hand. I choose us. All of it. The complications, the scrutiny, the danger. I choose you, Sebastian Volkov. He pulled over and kissed her desperately. I love you. I probably shouldn't, but I love you. I love you too. 2 years after that dark road, Lauren Volkov, she'd taken his name, stood in their apartment overlooking the city. The congressional hearings had ended with no charges. The FBI investigation had closed. The media had moved on to other scandals. They'd survived. Lauren had rebuilt her career with a consulting firm that didn't care about her associations. She'd learned to live with occasional photographers, with being recognized, with the reality of being connected to Sebastian. But they'd made it work. Thinking deep thoughts? Sebastian asked, coming up behind her. Thinking about how strange my life is. How different from what I expected. Regrets? Never. He wrapped his arms around her. Got a call today. The Bravo wants to negotiate territory boundaries. Could get complicated. Will you handle it? Of course. But it might mean increased security for a while. I've gotten used to security. Marcus sends me Christmas cards now. Sebastian laughed. He likes you better than he likes me. They stood watching the city, comfortable in their complicated life. The doorbell rang. Marcus, probably with the day's briefing. I'll get it, Sebastian said. As he walked away, Lauren looked at her reflection in the window. The woman looking back was stronger, braver, more complicated than the one who'd gotten lost that night. But happier. Because she'd chosen truth over safety. Chosen honesty over comfort. Chosen a dangerous man who'd been more honest than any safe one ever was. Sometimes the best choices were the illogical ones. Sometimes trust started with a stranger and a gas can on a dark road. And sometimes, loving someone dangerous was the safest thing you could do. Sebastian returned. Marcus says there's a situation developing in Red Hook. Nothing immediate, but something to watch. How do you want to handle it? Carefully. Always carefully. He pulled her close. I love you, you know. Even when things get complicated. Especially when things get complicated. They kissed, and somewhere in the city, Marcus was probably rolling his eyes at their moment, preparing for another day of protecting the most stubborn couple he'd ever worked for. Lauren smiled against Sebastian's lips. We're quite a pair. The analyst and the crime boss. The wife and the husband. That too. Sebastian pulled back to look at her. No regrets? Not a single one, you? Only that I didn't find you sooner. They stood in their apartment. Looking out at the city, they'd both learned to navigate her from the safe world of legitimate business, him from the shadows of organized crime. Two different worlds that had somehow found a way to coexist. Because sometimes love required honesty more than safety. Sometimes the most dangerous choice was the one worth making. And sometimes, a dark road and a broken-down car were exactly what you needed to find what you'd been missing. On a dark road with a dead phone and an empty tank, Lauren made a choice that would define her life. She accepted help from a stranger who turned out to be dangerous and honest in ways most people never manage. Mafia boss Sebastian didn't hide his darkness to win her trust. He exposed it, explained it, and gave her every chance to walk away. And Lauren discovered that sometimes the most dangerous choice is the safest one you'll ever make. Because when someone shows you their worst and still treats you like you matter, when power kneels beside you instead of over you, when the person everyone fears becomes the only person who makes you feel safe, that's when you know you found something real. Sometimes love doesn't announce itself with flowers and romance. Sometimes it starts with a gas can and brutal honesty. And sometimes that's exactly what you need.